Let's dive right into the absolute foundation of the CISSP exam, the core security concepts from Domain 1. Look, if you want to pass this thing, getting these ideas down isn't just important, it's everything. So let's get ready to start thinking like a real security leader.
Okay, first things first. Let's tackle the question that probably keeps a lot of you up at night. Why do so many incredibly smart, hands-on tech pros, the people who can build a network from scratch, why do they often struggle with and even fail the CISSP?
And the answer, believe it or not, is actually pretty simple. It's the single biggest hurdle you have to get over. They're stuck thinking like technicians, but the CISSP, well, it demands you think like a manager, like a risk advisor. The exam isn't testing if you can do the technical work, it's testing if you can decide what's best to protect the business. That's the key.
So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with that big mindset challenge. Then we'll build out that security leader's perspective with 4 foundational pillars: protecting secrets, trusting our information, keeping the business running, and finally, proving the truth. And then we'll wrap it all up with a solid strategy for passing the exam.
You see, the whole point of the CISSP is to certify security leaders. It's designed to test your judgment in tricky situations where there might be a few technically correct answers, but only one is the best answer from a business and risk point of view. And these core concepts, they're the language you need to speak to make those judgments.
All right, let's get practical and jump into our first pillar. This is where the rubber meets the road. We're starting with confidentiality, which is really the cornerstone of all information security. It's all about making sure our secrets stay secret.
So what this really boils down to is preventing unauthorized disclosure. I want you to think of it like a sealed, confidential envelope. The whole goal is just to make sure that only the person it's addressed to can see what's inside. So whether we're talking about encryption or access controls on a folder, the mission is exactly the same. Keep sensitive information out of the wrong hands.
Now here's a spot where the exam loves to trip people up. The difference between confidentiality and privacy. They are not the same thing. Confidentiality is all about protecting data. Think company trade secrets. Privacy, on the other hand, is about protecting an individual's right to control their personal info, like their medical history. So let's make it simple. Confidentiality is a control you implement. Privacy is a right people have.
Okay, so here's your exam tip. The big trap is mixing these two up. If you see a question talking about protecting a company's merger and acquisition plans, your brain needs to go straight to confidentiality. The manager's question is always, who is authorized to see this, and how do we make sure no one else can?
All right, on to pillar number 2, integrity. Protecting secrets is great, but what if the information you're protecting has been tampered with? Integrity is all about making sure that the data we use to make decisions is accurate and can be trusted. Without it, you're flying blind.
And it's really important to know that integrity isn't just one thing. You've got to think about it in 2 ways. First, there's data integrity, which means the information itself hasn't been changed. Think about making sure a bank account balance is correct. Then you have system integrity, which means the operating system or the hardware that data lives on is also trustworthy and hasn't been messed with by malware.
And for the exam, here's the trap. Thinking that integrity is only about preventing changes. That's only half the battle. Just as important is detecting that a change has happened. Think about something like file hashing. It doesn't stop someone from changing a file, but it sure tells you if they did. So the manager's question is always, can we trust this data, and can we trust the system it's on?
Okay, pillar number 3, availability. Now this one is where you can really see that mindset shift from technician to leader. Availability isn't just about server uptime percentages. It's a core security principle, because if the business can't operate, nothing else matters.
To put it simply, availability means the right people can get to the right systems and data when they're supposed to. I mean, think about it. It doesn't matter how confidential or accurate your data is if nobody can get to it to do their job. A denial of service attack, for example, is a pure attack on availability, and its only goal is to shut the business down.
So how do we make sure things stay available? Well, it's all about planning for things to go wrong. We use things like redundant systems, fault tolerance, and of course, really solid backup and disaster recovery plans. And notice, these aren't just IT chores. They are major strategic decisions about how much risk and downtime the business is willing to accept.
So for the exam, the trap is seeing availability as just an IT problem to solve. Don't do it. You have to always connect it back to business impact. A system being down for 5 minutes, that might be an IT issue. But if it's your company's e-commerce site on Black Friday, that's a business catastrophe. So from a leader's perspective, the question you're asking is, can our people and our customers actually use what they need to do business? All right, let's hit our final pillar, which is all about establishing proof. How do we know something is real and genuine? And maybe more importantly, how do we make sure someone can't deny doing something later? Well, that's where authenticity and non-repudiation come into play.
Let's start with a subtle but really important distinction. Authentication is the process of proving who you are, like when you type in a password. Authenticity, on the other hand, is the quality of being genuine. It can apply to data, too. When you get an email and wonder, is this really from my boss? That's a question of authenticity.
Now, non-repudiation takes this a whole step further. It's about having undeniable proof that something happened. The best way to think about it is like sending a letter with registered mail that requires a signature. The sender can prove they sent it, and the receiver can't turn around and deny they ever got it. It creates a powerful, often legally binding, digital trail.
The exam trap here is treating these concepts like they're the same. They're not. Authentication proves who you are at one moment in time. Non-repudiation gives you lasting, undeniable proof of a transaction, usually with something strong like a digital signature. So the leader's question here becomes a legal one. Can we actually prove in a court of law who sent this and make sure they can't deny it?
Okay, so we've covered the 4 pillars. Let's bring it all home now and see how this blueprint helps you really adopt that leader's mindset and, most importantly, pass this exam.
If you remember just one thing from our time together today, please let it be this. This is your mantra for every single question on the exam. Your job is not to pick the coolest or the most powerful new technology. Your job is to choose the solution that best manages risk and protects the business. Period.
So here's how you put this into action. When you read a question, first identify the pillar. Ask yourself, is this about confidentiality, integrity, or availability? Then, look at the answers through a manager's eyes, from a risk perspective. Immediately get rid of the answers that are just pure tech speak. Then, choose the option that solves the bigger business risk.
So let's just quickly recap the leader's blueprint. Remember, security decisions have to serve business goals. Your role is to be a risk advisor, not just a tool installer. The CIA Triad is your rock-solid foundation. And things like authenticity and non-repudiation, that's how you build trust and accountability on top of it.
And that wraps up our look at the foundational concepts of CISSP Domain 1. I want to leave you with this question to carry with you as you study. You have the blueprint now, so how are you going to use it to shift your own thinking, from just configuring technology to truly managing risk?